Hello world, this is DJ Craven and you're listening to the Craven Happiness Podcast. This is episode number 5. Thanks for joining us. Got a special guest here today. We're actually in the old junior high. Last time I was in here, I was actually going to 9th grade high school. So pretty crazy. Actually, sorry, 7th grade. But Steve, introduce yourself to the world here. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, appreciate it. Steve Monico, owner of Monico Insurance. We just recently moved here at the junior high. We've been in a couple different office situations where we've had a building sold and outgrown another, and we finally got a long-term lease, and
You're settled.
They're settled just recently, as of November 1st.
Yeah, so just real recently.
Yeah. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, no, good. Thanks for having me, and thanks for bringing it in here. It's great to have people say yes, which we'll get into, I'm sure, as we go along here. So, what I like to do is kind of continue the intro of kind of where are you from, where'd you grow up, and we'll kind of take it from kind of ground up of where you started to where you are here.
Okay. My family's born and raised in Meadville, as far as my dad and my mother. She's originally from Cleveland, but there.
We won't hold that against her.
Yeah, that's all right. Actually, when I was born, I lived right across the street over on Garden Street with my grandparents that came over from Italy.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I can see their house from here.
Nice.
It's kind of cool. But we moved, and I went to high school in Sagertown, graduated there.
Okay.
My wife went to Meadville, graduated there, a couple years younger than myself.
Okay.
We had our family and raised them out in Sagertown. They all graduated from Sagertown High School as well. 3 kids.
Yep.
23, 21, and 19.
Okay.
Yep.
And
one working and 2 in college.
Yeah. One creating an income and one
just
going away.
No, they're doing well. Actually, the middle child, Nick, is going to graduate this year. He's been applying for law school. He's been accepted to a couple. He's going to make some decisions here, but he'll be going on for that.
Very cool.
My daughter's in her sophomore year. She's looking to probably go the business route with, she really wants to help people. So something in the public health nonprofit arena.
Okay.
When it's all said and done.
Yeah.
She's very, very well versed for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where, did you say the schools are where they're at?
I'm sorry. Nick is currently at Kent State.
Kent State, okay.
Yep. And my daughter's at Duquesne in Pittsburgh.
Duquesne, okay, so not too far away, but far enough away from mom and dad that they're far enough away.
Yeah, it's far enough away. Today's world with FaceTime and all the things we have.
Yeah, you certainly feel really connected.
But it's not the same.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's very cool. So just to touch on that, so you kind of went through your high school pretty quickly. So nothing crazy exciting there. Nothing to report. Where did you go from? Just kind of from high school and into any kind of schooling. Where'd you go after high school?
I did. So I've always said I was going to own a restaurant. Always business minded during my high school career. What's everybody going to do? Who's going to go to college and all those things?
So let me ask you this, just to make some interested in that. How early did that start? I mean, was that in high school or was it even earlier than that?
Even earlier, probably junior high.
Junior high.
Yeah.
Had a kind of that entrepreneur type of brain in your opinion?
Always had. My dad owned several businesses over the years, and I think I kind of got that bug and wheeling and dealing a little bit, those kinds of things, and that's kind of where I was at.
Any interesting stories through junior high, high school of you, I'll say stretching those legs, practicing those muscles?
I used to have, I don't want to call them garage sales, almost like a yard sale on my own.
Okay.
And I would, this is more junior high and a little bit younger probably than in an older age, and I would gather things from the house and the garage and sell them.
Try to sell them.
They weren't necessarily mine.
Yeah.
Might have been mom's, might have been dad's.
Did you have to give mom and dad a cut of the profits?
No, I think they did. Once they got onto it, I did it a few times, and they kind of checked it out, and they kind of let me roll with it, or things would disappear from what I was going to sell.
So that's an interesting story because of the world we live in now, and where eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and these things where literally that's what it's doing. My wife does it all the time. She gets a little bit of a high out of it. I think that she purges her closet, posts a bunch of stuff online, and then she gets people to come pick them up, and gets a little bit of cash for it.
This was a piece of plywood on a couple of horses out in the front yard.
Yeah.
Out in Sagertown. Even had rock sales on occasion.
Oh, really?
Rocks, that was real little.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So you definitely were in it from an early age.
Yeah, I do believe it.
Okay. So going through high school, you certainly know that you've got this in you. And then after high school, you
trying to decide. I had a difficult time deciding exactly what avenue I wanted to go from high school. I knew I wanted to go to schooling, I just wasn't sure. And I ended up choosing business school in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Obviously business management focus.
Right.
See where I was going to go exactly, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
that's what I chose. And loved it. Loved Pittsburgh, loved the business school. Unfortunately, while I was in my first semester, at the end of my first semester over Christmas time, I lost my mother to a car accident.
Sorry to hear that.
So that was in 1989. I didn't go back to school right away. I had a younger brother at the time. You know, as you can imagine, family's in shock. So I, did what most older brothers and help dad take care of that kind of stuff. So at that point, I took a semester off basically, and the following year I went back to school, business again in Edinburgh.
Okay.
And my heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Just wasn't in it. Mom was the driving force. I was a mama's boy, so that was kind of a driving force for me to go do all of those things.
Right.
So you lose a little bit of your edge.
Yeah.
And I was at a point in my life where I just needed to make some decisions. What was, I felt like everybody around me was okay, so what was best for me at that time? I went to the military, went to the Army.
Okay. Yeah. So collectively you're at school for how many years did you say? Like
one full year, because I went a semester.
Right.
Took a semester off when that happened.
Yeah.
Went another semester and said, I gotta.
Gotcha. Okay. And
experience.
What branch of military?
I went to the Army.
Okay.
I really wanted to go into combat engineering, the guys that build the bridges and all that stuff, get some experience in that in that world.
Yeah.
But I was probably about an 8-month wait to get into that because everybody wanted to.
Mm.
And I was at a point where I really wanted to go do something now versus later. So, like a lot of people, you hear a story, I went to the infantry.
Okay. That's where you went, yeah.
I left in a week. But it was great. I went to Fort Benning, met people that I still talk to today. I was the last year of a 2-year enlistment. They don't do that anymore.
Okay.
Went through basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia, in the middle of summer. Perfect timing for that.
Right, yeah.
Then was stationed in Germany.
Okay.
Which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Still at the age of 19.
Right, yeah, you're still young.
When I graduated high school, I was one of the younger guys. When I graduated, I was 17, so everybody else was a little bit older.
Yeah.
To go over there and experience that for a few years, and again, meet contacts that I still talk to today.
Certainly.
Got out, decided it was time to, now I'm refreshed, and what am I going to pursue? I had the college grants and all that money to use from the military. But I actually went to work in a car dealership.
Okay.
And through that process, there's a lot of things involved in moving parts,
right.
But ended up working at like service desk and then service desk in a body shop.
Okay. Around here or
Community Chevrolet.
Oh, okay. So here in Greenville.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I spent a little bit of time in Greenville because one of the managers had went down there, but ultimately ended up back at Community, writing estimates and managing the body shop.
Okay.
That's where I met the insurance people of the world.
Ah, okay. Now it makes sense, right?
I'm getting it. Yeah. So at that point, just through conversations and going to meetings, I had a call one night and said, there's a job you ought to apply for. Might not, they're very hard to get at the time.
Yeah.
They're replacing those with electronics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I did. I went to an interview and there was probably 15 people for two positions.
Okay.
It was in Clarion at their field office. You had to write an estimate, you had to do the board interview, all those things. I'm like, okay, there's no way.
And this is an interview for insurance?
For insurance, to be a field adjuster, to write estimates on the vehicles and
Gotcha.
handle total losses, that type of thing.
Right.
I got it.
Nice.
State Farm, yeah. And that's right after we had our first child.
Okay.
So there was a lot going on in our life, so I'm like, okay, we're going to try it. And just through that process, from State Farm, I got a management job with Nationwide. And I spent from 99 to 2007 with Nationwide.
Okay.
In a assistant manager, that kind of role in the claims department, still in the audit side of things.
Did you, at any time in there, you're working at Community Chevrolet, you're working, now in insurance, you did that for about 9 years. You had those tendencies of being an entrepreneur, when you were younger. You still have those tendencies, I'm sure, at that age. Is it always kind of in the back of your mind that, you still don't want to work for somebody else? Like, is that still some of it in the back of your mind there?
You know, because as I developed those relationships in the insurance industry, and then got to actually work in the corporate level of insurance, met a lot of agents.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking, okay, and a lot of agent meetings, and you know, I prided myself in taking care of clients and customers and the insureds when they had accidents. I mean, I just want everything to go. It's not an easy situation because it's one of the most traumatic things that ever happens to anybody is a car accident, good or bad.
Right.
It's just the way it is. I enjoyed that part of it, but you know, then we spent a lot of time with agents doing drive-in claims. So someone would bring their car in for me to look at the agent's office, and we would do 8 appointments a day, several days a week.
Okay.
Spent a lot of time with agents and really identified that as probably what I wanted to do from the business perspective.
Yeah.
And basically made some arrangements through that process to kind of take over an agency as time went on.
Yeah.
That particular situation didn't work out. But when that didn't, that's when I decided I'm going to buy an insurance agency.
Yeah.
And I bought an Allstate agency in 2007.
Okay. Now, are you when you went out to Clarion and you were there for those 9 years, or
that was just the interview process.
Okay.
And there was a couple territories, and I started out in Meadville. They had a field office here in Meadville.
Okay.
And I would go down into Sharon, over to Little City, Titusville, maybe a little bit of Clarion. But there were people that were covering different territories that lived closer that would have rather done that. So they kind of just rotated us, and I ended up with the Meadville territory.
Okay.
Over
Just
time.
Convenient.
Yeah, I mean, it was none of my doing because I was low man on the totem pole.
Right.
But everybody worked together well, and
Right.
we had dispatchers really at the time. You
Yeah.
handed out your claims, and
Yeah.
they'd say, well, Joe's over there, we might as well give him those claims, and
Yeah.
Steve's already here, and we just
Nice.
kind of
Rotate around.
rotate around.
Did you? So that Allstate, was it in here in Meadville? The Allstate.
The Allstate agency was in Erie,
is in Erie. Okay.
real close to the Mill Creek Mall. The reason of that, the insurance agencies really don't ever go for sale. Most of them, it's already predetermined how it's going to go. Perpetuation's already in place.
Right.
If you're not part of that,
Yeah.
you know, in today's world, even corporate banks are buying insurance agencies. So there's it's a hard one to get into.
Yeah, I would imagine it's kind of like a funeral home. You don't just pop into town and
Right. You know, and you got to have a certain amount of experience, and approvals are necessary, and licensing and all of those things. But once I really dug in and decided that's what I was going to do, that was basically without doing a scratch startup and basically starting with no clients and just building one. That was the only thing within a 100-mile radius that was for sale,
was available.
that made sense for
Right.
what I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
There was a lot of different scenarios, but that was a solid book of business, and went and met with the people several times and purchased it.
So that decision there, you've been somewhat building it up over a course of maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years ish.
Yeah.
Was it was pretty much once you found it, it was a no-brainer of like, all right, I'm going to buy this, or was it still a little bit apprehensive because you've been, as we know, being from an employee, go into a business owner. I mean, there's a sense of security when you're an employee to
Absolutely.
a degree, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it as being the employee because you feel like you could get fired tomorrow if you
Right.
needed to. But there's still different responsibilities. So how was that decision in your mind of, all right, we're going to really jump off the ledge here?
That's exactly what I felt like. So I was, for the most part, very comfortable, but apprehensive in when you start talking about at the corporate level, health insurance, 401ks, company cars, all of those things go away.
Yeah.
And then you're ultimately responsible financially for those. And
Yeah.
when you're buying a decent size, there's a lot of moving parts. So
Right.
my wife was terrified.
Yeah.
She was all in.
Yeah.
She's definitely my rock, but lots of questions. But how do you know what to even do to get the health insurance? How do you do it?
Right.
She said, well, I do.
You figure it out.
You go through, and there's planning models they have for you.
Certainly.
Things
Yeah. Something like
even though
Allstate, I would imagine, wouldn't just leave you out.
yeah, no, there's checklists and there's so many things because you're ultimately the owner, but you're still involved with corporate, so they
Correct.
have a process they want you to go through. So once we got past all that, and obviously, sizable loan that you got to get involved with, like, okay,
Right.
we're going the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back since that.
Yeah.
We've had some changes in different scenarios over since that 2007 time, but very, very satisfying, and it was an accomplishment that I waited for a long time to own.
Right, absolutely. Because you got to have, there's, so as it relates to happiness and the whole thing that I'm trying to talk about and all of this, there's a part of it there that you have of that sense of somewhat of a release a little bit. You have the nervousness on the one side that we just talked about, like, obviously that your wife is having, and that any natural person would have, like, all right, we're going to do this, honey, let's go. That you have that, but then on the other side of it, you kind of somewhat control your own destiny almost to the T, right? I mean, it's up and down, and I always say, it's something along the lines of, it's your life is your choice and your choice alone, and don't complain about somebody else. You're the one making those choices.
You make the decisions.
And this really gets you into it when you're owning your own business.
Right. The direct effect of every choice you make at that point, decision, has so much bearing on everything.
Yeah.
And you make good ones and you make bad ones.
Right.
And you learn from them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you learn valuable, hard lessons. Yeah. And it happens over time in business ownership and in life.
Yeah.
And, I think it tells, it's always the best foot forward. You just keep going.
Yeah.
You just can't stop.
Right, absolutely. We have a saying in our office that sometimes we learned at Harvard education, meaning like it was very costly, and it costs a lot of money, costs a lot of time, but we learned it, right? And you're sometimes better off on the other side of that. And, the success a lot of times comes from adversity, and be able to go through that adversity is where a lot of times success can come from. Really, but sometimes the best success is followed right on the heels of an adversity in some sort of manner, whether that be anything. I mean, there's so many different examples.
And I have several, and we won't get into crazy details, but there's from the time I had the Allstate agency, I was contacted by a local Erie agent in that process, a larger agent that unfortunately was ill and was looking for someone to perpetuate the business back in time. We were hooked up through several other individuals. So I ended up buying that Erie agency here in town. It was a great deal. When I got involved in it, I already insured a lot of people that were already in that book of business, so it was just a really, really good fit.
Right.
And when you talk about adversity, some things that, when you make those decisions to deal with whomever, new clients, old clients, and all that. Unfortunately, I was put in a position through a relationship I had with Allstate, with another agent, that eventually cost me that Erie agency.
Oh, okay.
Because of that relationship, because of what they did, but ultimately I was responsible for overseeing all that. So we're talk about decisions made.
Yeah.
You look back and you learn from those things.
Right.
And basically, it was a contractual thing. Didn't work out.
Yeah.
I was there for it. I had owned it for since 2009. This was in 2013 when some of those things developed, and it was very unfortunate. I loved all the people who worked for me. I still see them today and talk to them. But it was that was a point, and it was a very low point in my business life, because you ultimately are responsible for those decisions, whether somebody else does something or not.
Yeah.
And that was tough.
I would imagine. That
was tough. There was a lot of things, moving parts to that, financially, all of those things.
Yeah.
But again, the strongest one in my corner was I got to keep mentioning my wife. Without her, because it was brutal. When you are not forced, but you have to do something you don't want to do.
Right.
But it's just is what it is.
Yeah.
Deal. And we figured out the best way to do it. A lot of help from local business people, accountants, financial people. Here's what's going on. Here's what we've got to do, and the best way to do it for us and for employees involved, all the clients. A lot of times when something like that happens, it can get really sticky, and people try to flip over agencies into other companies, and that's just not good for clients.
It's not good for anybody.
It's like a force the square peg into the round hole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we got
persevered. Yeah.
Absolutely. Ended up independent, forming other insurance relationships, and I can't say that I'm happier because of that, but I'm very satisfied and happy. I was happy when that was going before that happened.
Right.
We got through that. It was a tough year.
Certainly.
Tough year to readjust and figure those things out. But boy, extremely satisfied and happy where we're at today.
Yeah, and you don't know the alternative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you make a different decision that wouldn't have maybe led to that
Right.
wouldn't have led you to here, right? I mean, you start second guessing, like
Right.
you don't know what the other alternative
Probably be perfectly happy still doing what it was.
I'm
or
sure,
or
yeah.
not, you know.
Doc
that's-
Brown is not going to come through the door here and say, "Let's go get the DeLorean and let's go back in time."
Right.
Like, it's just not going to happen.
No, and it's weird because in a smaller community, part of the thing that was tough about it was rumors.
Certainly.
And it just drives you crazy. And I got thick skin, so I'm not, and I would, anything I needed to address, I would address.
Right.
There was a rumor that I was going to jail. Rumor this, I'm like, oh, so you need to put those things aside and getting through all of that.
Yeah.
mess and
Well, to touch on that a little bit,
Yeah.
so one of the things that I like to touch on is judgment.
Yeah.
And that somehow has into that, and then
Right.
a lot of people will judge based on not having the context of living in somebody else's shoes.
right.
So was that a factor for you at all, or were you able to pretty much just kind of somewhat, because again, we're all human beings.
Right.
Everybody thinks of things differently. I think of it from a standpoint of if you feel like you're getting pressured from the judgment, sometimes that's some of your own insecurities coming out.
Right.
And if you're able to kind of move forward and just push along without worrying about other people's judgment, and who cares what somebody else really
Right.
thinks? I mean, there's maybe a person or two that's close in your life, but really it's you. It's what you have.
Right.
That you have to worry about, and not worry about what other people think about things.
And that's what you have to get past in a situation like that when it's not a planned event.
Right. Oh yeah. We're all certainly yeah.
And I really turned back to my faith a lot in that scenario, and spent a lot of time just soul searching. What the next, I didn't pray and didn't look for an answer,
Right.
but a path
Yeah.
is what I just, what's the next path?
Right.
And that was hard to get to,
Yeah.
just because of, and the timing of everything was very fast paced.
Yeah, I
so
can imagine.
it was, bouncing around and it's hard to get past the judgment
Yeah.
because people can be cruel.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
can be very cruel,
Right.
and totally unfounded and totally incorrect.
Right. Absolutely.
So once I got to a point where I could confidently, use a little bit of confidence, get that back, and I went straight face to face and approached the people that I had issue with
Yeah,
that
that you
were
need
doing
to.
those things
Yeah.
in a strictly professional manner.
Right.
And it stopped.
Yeah.
Stopped right then. It's amazing when you have a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
Call somebody the carpet when they have no idea what you're talking about,
Right.
and I just felt I was finally able to do that.
Right.
Stopped.
Yeah, and it's amazing too that you, even if it wouldn't have stopped,
Right.
you probably still would have felt better.
I was
on the
done.
other side
Yeah,
of it.
just- yeah,
Because
do
you
what I
said your
need to
piece,
do.
you've moved on,
Yeah.
you just kind of check that box, and you can
The people
go on.
that need to know and know me or whatever the case may be knew
Right.
that was.
Yeah.
But it was very tough to get to that point. But
I'm
once you got
sure.
to it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You're there now, and
Because,
again,
we got life still goes on.
yeah, absolutely.
I could sit in the corner and
Right.
sulk and say, oh wow, what's this?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesesn't matter. Yeah, the bills keep coming. Kids still got to get places. Everything's got to keep moving on, and you just put it forward and go, head down and
Absolutely.
go.
Oh, that's awesome, and obviously
Yeah.
great that you're able to get to this point and
Yep.
be able to continue moving on. So you've had Monico Insurance now for then how many years is it?
So totally since 2007. I mean, it was all under Monico Insurance.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, but now you're
agency-wise,
independent.
just different
Gotcha.
companies.
Yeah.
Truly independent. I work with some other agents to have access to companies like a brokerage type thing. But we have
Gotcha.
over 100 companies available to us.
Right.
I branched out into the Pittsburgh market through a relationship.
Yeah.
That's been fun. Like I said, my kids are down that area, so I
All right.
see them a little bit more.
Take you to travel down
It's
there.
a different way of life and business there.
Certainly.
Fast paced versus a little more fast paced. We have. I mean, not one's better than the other.
No.
It's just
It's different.
it's a good mix.
Yeah.
I have several employees involved in both aspects of the business, so that keeps it fun for them. They do a little bit of traveling too.
Right.
It's working out good.
Well, that's good. It's good to hear. So, moving into some of the kids thing, you were talking about that. You've got 2 kids in college, 1 out. How is that for you to kind of talk to them about that at that age? Because I've got 3 kids. I'm solid 10-ish years or more away from that.
Right.
And then certainly there's a lot of people that are there as well. Like, how do you talk through that of, you going through some of those judgments and then them handling some of those adversities,
Right.
And potentially what they're hearing or what they're not hearing and all of those things. So how is that almost from a father's perspective opposed to me?
It was tough because at first I wanted it all hush hush. I don't want to get them upset
Right.
all until we know what was going on.
You want to try to protect them.
But at the time, so we had high school, junior high, elementary age.
Okay.
So that younger was
Different
easy
dynamic
to
there.
deal with.
Yeah,
but,
certainly.
Obviously my demeanor, and I wasn't myself even in the family,
Right.
off.
Yeah.
And finally, my oldest son asked my wife if everything was okay.
Yeah.
And he was more worried about my health.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's address this head on.
Right.
So we had the old family meeting.
Family meeting.
Yep. Here's what's going on. Here's why. We're dealing with it. Okay. And then when the ultimate decision was made to sell the business,
Mm-hmm.
it was the appropriate, the best thing for everyone involved to do.
Right.
We had another family meeting, and that ripped my heart out a little bit when I had to basically tell them I was doing that, because I think in the back of my mind I had aspirations to be involved in that business with one or all of my kids.
Right.
They never expressed total interest.
Right.
Mentioned it, but it just.
Yeah. Your aspirations.
Yeah, they were there. But then, as we went through that process, I'm like, okay, we're just going to do it a different way.
Yeah.
So if they want to, as they finish college or whatever, we're still in a position to do things probably even better than would have been in that particular
Certainly.
scenario.
Yeah. A little more.
Yep.
A little more availability.
But yeah, to just not to skip over, they did get some of the, some parents comment, there was a massive change quick.
Yeah.
And it's a small community, so.
Right, yeah, people talk.
The fish story.
Yeah.
But they never had any issues from it.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah.
This is really good because a lot of times when people take the time to, from that judgment perspective of
Right.
trying to tear somebody else down. There's one way to make your building the tallest in the city, right? You either build it bigger or you tear somebody else's down.
Right.
And I just believe in building it bigger opposed to tearing
Absolutely.
somebody else's down.
I'm born and raised here. I've done so many things in the community. Been coaching and all that. I'm like, these people know me.
Yeah.
And that's what, in the end, that's
Yeah.
what persevered. It didn't take much.
Right.
It actually, I think the biggest drag in that whole thing was not seeing or hearing from me much during the time that I was figuring out. I was
Yeah.
soul searching myself a little bit to figure out how it was all going
Right.
to work in the first 6-7 months. So I wasn't going to events that I would normally go to.
Right.
Ball games, or
Yeah.
I didn't miss my kid stuff. I wasn't going to extra things like I normally would.
Yeah.
I did some announcing at schools, and I wasn't doing any of that because
Yeah.
I was, figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I was still worried about that judgment.
Right.
Once I got past that and I got out there, it was like, okay, not
You're good.
business as usual for everybody.
Yeah. And it's tough too, right? There's a lot of things that it's tough to be able to. It's tough to be able to do all of the things that I talk about to be happiness. Like, for instance, like the judgment, like you just said about, hey, I was worried about the judgment, and that's okay, right? We're all human beings. We're all human beings. We're all able to be able to persevere through things, and it's just it's not easy. I guess it's kind of the point.
It's not
an easy thing to do a lot of times, and it can be very tough to be able to go through some of these things.
Well, and it's key in my industry. You have to be able to trust your insurance man.
Right.
So if anything is out there that's attempting to tarnish that, or so you've got to think about all of that is
Right.
on top of it. And when you address it head on, and it's a very here's the easiest answer. The truth tells it all. So
Yeah.
whether you know this, hear this, if you just here's what it's actually rather simple.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And then you're able to move on, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about that word truth earlier when you were talking
Yeah.
about that, about when you were trying to talk to people, and it's kind of like let the truth prevail.
Yeah.
It's just if that's the truth, it just makes it easier, and to be able to stay true to yourself, I think it's just big.
Have to.
In life in general.
I'm so passionate about what I do. I think I come across that way in a lot of arenas. And even 4 years ago, I probably couldn't have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
even though I was okay,
Right.
I probably wouldn't.
You were able to talk
I
about.
couldn't tell you all of these things.
Right.
But it makes me who I am, and it makes, it's built. Our family foundation is stronger than it's ever been. And, my kids are hard workers. They're good students. For the most part, they don't get in any trouble.
Yeah. For the most part, we all don't.
And that's my joy now. Just seeing the success and the things they're doing in life, and glad it didn't derail us.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
a little
good.
bump in the road.
Yeah. No, that's good. Good because again, like I said, some adversities, so you can learn from them and just hopefully move on. So. No, that's good. That's good to hear. And so that kind of brings us to somewhat of like the present time. And what's kind of out in the future there? You thinking about different things. Where's your kind of future ambitions kind of taking you?
Yeah. So our focus has been. I don't want to say. I don't know what the right way. We're focused on growth. You always got to focus. You always have to grow.
Yeah.
But the pie in the sky thing doesn't have to happen in this
right.
world. So when I fine tuned everything and we're getting organized, our focus is taking absolute care of our clients. And you hear this, it's all about it is, but we take pride in that. I take pride in that. Absolutely. To have a conversation with you, or I see you on the street, just to say hello. We're not talking about insurance or anything. But so. We rebuilt our brand in a way under Monico Insurance versus some of the other names of the other agencies, and we'll get out with this family-based. It's all about what you need,
right?
No more, no less. We're going forward with. I have a second location in Wexford now.
Yeah.
I don't talk about that a lot around people, other than some of my business clients. They ask hey, they come in the office, I'm not in. Well, I'm spending time down there.
Right.
We've seen a pretty sizable amount of growth in 6 months. Really focused on that down there.
Mm-hmm.
The coming year, I'll have a regular schedule that's 2.5 days in each place.
Yeah.
But appointments is necessary, so I'm always available.
Yeah, certainly.
You put 8 to 4, 8 to 5 on it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
If I get a call, somebody has a claim, I go.
Right.
It's whatever. Hey, I work till 8 o'clock, and you meet me at 9 o'clock, and absolutely.
Right.
We've always done that.
Absolutely.
So our business, my business model, from that perspective, hasn't changed. Other than just stay focused.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get away from that. I've been involved in some other businesses, and when you just got to stay focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is, I truly believe this is what I'm meant to be doing, and I enjoy it. My father-in-law always said, "How do you enjoy insurance?" I said, well, people need it. They have to have the right kind of insurance. They have to be covered properly. I don't need to oversell them. I don't need to it's not that kind of approach. And I always get a kick out of that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So you mentioned pie in the sky, and it's like sometimes it's always not always greener. It's not always greater.
It's not always green. If you're reaching for too much, too fast, too big, then maybe you lose concentration, you lose your focus, and then bad things can happen.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think when you go to, I think if I go all the way back to when that happened, it was that we were in a pretty sizable growth phase, doing a lot of good things,
right?
And I didn't manage them all well.
Yeah.
And that is my fault. So for that, that's my lesson I learned.
Right. Now you're taking it a little bit slower and just control growth.
Have controlled growth. We know what's going on in every aspect as much as you possibly can.
Right.
Anybody that works with me is the same way.
Yeah.
Or they're not working with me.
Yeah.
It just is, because you do learn from that, and I'm all the better for it.
Yeah.
I really am.
Absolutely.
Tough lesson, but.
Yeah, well, and I guess where I was going to go with it a little bit too is that, I've said this plenty of times to plenty of people, and I think maybe even some of my other ones, of there could be an individual out there making $250,000 a year, and they're not very happy.
Right.
When if they were to scale back and make $150,000 a year, they would be way happier because they're doing something more that they enjoy and something that they love.
Right.
And there can be a lot of truth in what you're saying in that as well, of some people just are comfortable in different things and also have gotten burnt on different things, like you're saying. So you kind of create the path and go in that way.
And part of my decision-making process all the way back to becoming an agent, I'm glad you brought that up, or business owner in general, in the right type of business. I never missed a kid's event. I never missed a ball. I coached stuff. That was part of the drawing card for me to be a business owner and insurance agent. you know, when you have enough employees, you can do things like that. And some people look down, oh, you're never working up.
Right.
You're always working.
Yeah.
You know? But I pride myself in that because I didn't want to miss it. You know, maybe I might have missed a coffee meeting or something for donuts or
Right.
something. I can't think of any kind of event that I missed of all three of the kids.
Right.
That was a big part of our decision-making process.
Yeah. The flexibility.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
You know, shoot out for an hour, you can do that and catch the recital.
Right. And if you need to make up that hour later, you just do that another time. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's easy to do.
It's certainly with that business mentality.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, every
All
business
businesses
yeah,
different. You can't always do
Yeah.
that. But I was already in the insurance world and I identified that. And I had some very good mentors along the way. I had a couple of ones that aren't so good that maybe, you know. But I learned from those and watched, you know, community involvement,
Right.
those types of things.
Yeah.
Family,
Yeah.
you know, the really, really good ones all got the good family and it's all good around them.
Right.
So it's, you know, it's important.
Yeah.
Most important piece for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it is, and I think I couldn't agree with you more on all of it for sure.
And my supporting cast from my immediate family and surrounding family, when all in anything, is golden.
So if you were to if you had to define success, what is it for you right now? Just without me coming in here or anything like that, if somebody walk in the door and be like, all right, Steve, how do you define success?
How do I define success? Number one is happiness. I mean, I'm not going to just kind of here to say that.
That's fine.
You have to be happy in what you're doing. You cannot succeed unless you're happy every time. If you're constantly under the gun, miserable about what you're doing, don't want to be there, not going to happen. The ultimate success, you know, is seeing the success of my children.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I live for my family. And, you know, I like to I do things for my, you know, I hunt and do things like that. But it's just so much, when I get to talk to them on the phone and ask them how they're doing, or we're looking for apartments in Pittsburgh and just hearing the growth and all these things, I've succeeded.
Yeah. That's
They're
awesome.
getting there. I'm working now and the business is a success, but ultimately that family happiness, and, you know, obviously you want to be able to retire someday.
Certainly.
And enjoy those things, and I will.
Yeah.
But that speaks to it for me.
That's cool. No, that's good. That's something that everybody has a little bit of a different answer, and I like to ask that.
Right.
Just kind of, you know.
That seeing them succeed is my success.
Yeah, that's cool. Something else that I don't think I've asked yet, but I'm interested to ask you: what do you fear the most?
What do I fear the most? Now?
Right now.
Right now. That's a good question. I guess health.
That's a good answer.
Staying healthy.
Yeah.
Bad family history in the men in my family. I've been fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go crazy exercising. My wife's a health coach, so I need to get I know I need to get better. I do a lot of walking. I'm active.
Yeah.
But I guess that, you know, as you get older, I'm 49. You think about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, things get creaky, and
yeah, certainly.
so I say that would probably be.
Yeah. You know what's awesome about that answer is that's my answer.
Yeah.
It is. It's the health of yourself, number one.
Yep.
In my opinion, if you're not healthy, you can't do anything.
Right.
Because you just think about a head cold and how much that can, just that little bit of a head cold.
Right.
Obviously, you got extreme head colds, and just how much that can just set you back in just doing your normal activities. And you can imagine if we got some real health problems. And,
Yeah. I mean, it's
real
immediately life altering.
Yeah, like it's
That's
the
scary.
biggest one.
I mean, it's like it could happen in a day.
Yeah, or
Whether
any
it's
other.
accidental or an illness or something you didn't know about.
Yeah.
It just, that's probably
absolutely
that would be it.
Great answer. That's that's my
I
answer.
had to think about it for a minute. I'm like, that's, you know.
That's great. It's good that you got there.
Yeah.
So I think that anything else that you want to add? I think that any future things, anything else we had, I think that we can somewhat wrap it up. Unless you got anything else to
I
add.
appreciate it. I think we covered a lot of information there. It's good to it's good to just talk.
Absolutely.
That it puts a little smile on everybody's face, whether someone wants to hear what you have to say or not. Sometimes it to get things out there and things you're proud of.
Yeah.
Family, business. I'm proud of what we've accomplished. So
Yeah, you should be.
It's good to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, and everybody out there listening, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the other side.